G'day, my name's Todd, and thank you for tuning into my video today. So today is a really big day for me. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. How big is the Sasquatch in video 6? We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things for video 6, and my philosophy about Sasquatch and the way they survive and the things they do has significantly changed just in the last week. So we're going to go into a whole bunch of that today. It's going to be an awesome video. Stay tuned. It's going to be lots of fun. For the past 10 years, I've been conducting expeditions, documenting chronicles, and interviewing people pertaining to the subject of Sasquatch. With over 20 years worth of hardcore backcountry expedition experience into the most remote regions, I've tracked and studied various North American species that have had little to no exposure to civilization.
I've been able to see for the first time some complete segments of Todd Standing's filming of Sasquatches, and I am firmly convinced that he has filmed Sasquatches and that what he has portrayed in his documentary are indeed very close portraits, in fact, of the Sasquatch face.
So it was raining, it was crazy, crappy weather. My camera stopped working, so I had to get back and switch cameras. But it's great to get out and do things. If you go hiking in the rain. And even if you have children, I know it's hard, suffer a little bit. Because I think it helps you get perspective. The birds don't sing, as a friend taught me today. The birds don't sing in the rain because rain is hard, rain is tough. And I think it really helps you understand, not just forget about Sasquatch, but also think about Sasquatch, but the animals and the difficulty they have surviving and how hard for them, because when it rains all day and it's crappy weather and they get freezing, they get the cold and the wet on them, they sleep out in it. If it's like that for a week, they suffer for a week. And if you're doing Sasquatch research and you don't understand that, like even it helps me with my research in that when it's raining like crazy, you gotta understand, gorillas and chimpanzees don't come out. Orangutans can't stand the rain. They go into a state of depression in the rainy season because they don't go out in the rain. They thoroughly dislike the rain, and if you lived in it, you would agree and understand it's hard. So anyways, I went out, I go out anyways, I suffer through it, helps me appreciate nature. But we're here today to talk primarily about something that has changed so dramatically. So first and foremost, after really going through the data for the first time, really looking at it, the video 6 Sasquatch, you need to know how big he is. He is 9'4", plus or minus 2 inches, I would say. So that's my degree of error. He could be as tall as 9'6" at the maximum. What else you might notice in the video 6 segment is I'm following a trackway, and his tracks are 17 inches. This is not the dominant male of the troop. I'm absolutely certain of it. You know why? He's not big enough. He doesn't quite have the size. Scary, right? The big dominant male of the group is just a little bit bigger. Only a little bit. Maybe 10-15%. I could just, and there's other things that I can recognize about him. And so anyways, enormous, right? Crazy. Amazing, incredible, how phenomenally big. It's hard for scientists to get involved. It's hard for scientists to accept this species being as big as they are, because how the hell is a 9 foot tall, probably 1,000 pounds, let's even be less. When I'm seeing the tracks, it's really hard as a tracker to judge because they're so damn big. But when you look at the way the snow is crushed, like I'm walking through the snow is about 2.5 feet deep, and I'm crushing through it and it's hard, but when I see the way a Sasquatch walks through it with those longer legs, bigger, powerful legs, 17-inch foot, and the snow is crushed in a way that the power is just crazy, and the thickness of them sideways, like when you see their thickness with their chests. We had a sighting on expedition last year where he walked in front of our trailer and he walked sideways like this, and he was as wide sideways as I am, wider sideways than I am front, like this, shoulder to shoulder. Like I don't like to use the term beast or monstrous, but that's the size these incredible hominids are. They're thickly massed, heavy, incredibly powerful, miraculous beings, and we all have to know, those of us who know they exist, that that's why it's so hard for everybody else to comprehend it, because he might only be 3 feet taller than me. I'm 6'3", they're 9'3", but they outweigh me by, what is that, 600 pounds? That's the level of thickness, the gorilla mass and size. It's just absolutely enormous. So just getting into that, just focusing specifically on that is where we're at with this male Sasquatch. Now, what this leads us into, so that's really profound, and I wanted to do that for a long time. I've been very hesitant to get into it too much because I know it's so hard for people to accept that the Sasquatch are that big, they're that enormous. But another point I wanted to get into, and where this leads me to, that's very profound, is I've decided to initiate a new hypothesis. A couple times on the live show, and a few different times, I've had people come to me and say, how do you know that they're a male-dominated society? How do you know that they're just like the gorillas? How do you know they don't have monogamous relationships? And just yesterday I had that question posed to me again, and I said, well, because the evidence adds up to it, and everything we see, the sexual dimorphism, the size difference between males and females, everything in nature points to that. And they are in nature, but I'm starting to have second thoughts about that, and I'm going to start thinking about things a little differently because I've been pushed so hard. Even one of my mentors, a biologist from Great Falls, Montana, who watched that show and said, you know what, Todd? I don't think you're right. I don't think there is enough evidence to say they're a male-dominated society. Why is there video 6? That's an enormous Sasquatch. I know of one other male in the group. That particular male could be the brother of the dominant male. He's almost as big. So why do they have two big dominant silverback type beings? And even further than that, there's an old Sasquatch that lives amongst them. Maybe he was previously dominant, or maybe they do have monogamous relationships. Maybe within the group that they live in, so I always compared them, even in the show yesterday, I compared them to something between gorilla civilization and the Native Americans that lived here. Native Americans, what if they live like that? What if they do have boyfriend, girlfriend? What if they do have mates that live in a family group? What if they're more anthropologically like the hominid species known as Homo sapiens? I don't know that. And I'm actually going to start really pushing that theory and really thinking about that more, because there is evidence to substantiate that they could possibly be in monogamous, in pairs, in couples, maybe polygamy. But even with polygamy, maybe one male has 3 females, another male has 1. I don't know. So I think it's a little irresponsible, as I was told yesterday by a friend and colleague. Maybe it's a little irresponsible to be so hardcore about one particular perspective, even knowing that the species is so different and ultimately more spiritual, more on the tracker side, more along the intelligence side. So shouldn't they more man-like in their DNA? Therefore, shouldn't they be more man-like in their behaviors, in their society, in their group? Sentient, absolutely sentient. I have evidence to show sentience. Gorillas do not have that. So why is it that I'm not staying and supporting with the theory that is more human-like? And the answer is time for me to change that perspective, I think. And the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more I'm really going to start. In fact, I just made the decision right now, right here on camera. I'm going to say that they are even still male-dominated, but I don't have any evidence to substantiate or support the fact that it's one male breeding with all the females, and the other males don't get that. They don't get to do that. So it's a lot to think about. I'd love to hear your opinions. I'd love to hear your perspectives. Look into the science to it too. It's not so much about what we're talking out of our butts here. Let's talk real science. Let's theorize based on known science, on known facts. Because we know how the Native Americans survived. I know that the Native Americans admired and appreciated the Sasquatch, and I even know this even further. I'm firmly convinced that the spiritual way that the Native American people lived was greatly inspired, if not led by, the Sasquatch. I know it's a bold statement, but this is oral history that the natives have taught me. It's something I know because I've experienced it, and I strongly believe that the Sasquatch is wild master of the wilderness, and I think that it's clear to me. I've seen rituals that have been performed by the natives of North America, and they're being performed by Sasquatch, and it's really profound. It's really immense, and it's a lot to get into and talk about. I had a real spiritual ritual performed on me, and it's a whole other video. It's a whole other big segment to talk about. But the Sasquatch are involved. The Sasquatch are a part of that. The Sasquatch are very spiritual beings. When you watch Survivor Man Bigfoot, and there's those big upside down trees put in that spiritual area that I was led to, why did the Sasquatch do that? And the answer is there's some spiritual meaning to it. They do have extrasensory perception. I'm very aware of it. People are having dreams, the same dreams in the trailer when they go out on expedition with me. So these things aren't coincidence. These things are facts. They're happening. And even though we don't have a science to substantiate that, empaths are real. Third eye psychic ability is real. The movie Third Eye Spy is real. So once again, as the Sasquatch are highly evolved and highly developed and masters of the wilderness and ahead of us in that aspect, perhaps they're ahead of us when it comes to extrasensory perception, when it comes to those abilities. And when you look at where they are, they're more focused on those abilities. Wouldn't they be more evolved? Wouldn't they be, just by design, just by simple deduction, of course they're going to have better empathy, better psychic ability, because it's something that's immensely important in their lives, and it's not with us. It's really not. We have phones, we have other ways of communicating. Who's focused on working on their empathic ability? They sure would be. Of course they would be. Think about how they survive. Again, alone in the wilderness, distance between them, the silence, the no other means to communicate other than through extrasensory perception, and that closeness with the family and the reliance and the community that they have. I think it's a really big deal in their society and in everyday life for them. So a lot to think about, but awesome. I'm so happy I got to do this video. I feel like I got a lot off my chest, and I'm excited about trying something new. I'm excited about trying to prove the theory that Sasquatch are not just simply a male-dominated hierarchy, that they could have specific relationships, and it's something I'm going to think about all year. I'm going to talk to expeditioners about and talk to my colleagues about. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Throwback Thursday. Here we did it today. It was a throwback of this video 6 from my Discovering Bigfoot movie. There'll be another Sasquatch Sunday video and always Wednesday live. Thank you very much. Tell the truth and be honest and stand up for justice, because there is no justice without truth. It's very, very important. This has nothing to do with Sasquatch. This has to do with everyday life. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.